Hello, World Wide Web! I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair, and today I bring you DragonQuest. No, not the JRPG series. Or the anime based on said series. Or the pen and paper RPG. Or the 1970 novel. Or the other novel of the same name, but by a completely different author and totally unrelated. No, I bring you the 2009 Asylum movie, DragonQuest. Fucking brilliant. That's right, Asylum, the kings of blatant rip-offs. If there's a semi-popular film they could throw together a close enough version of in 4 months with as low a budget as they can, they shall. And this film is no exception, attempting to capitalize on the booming popularity of Eragon. Eragon? That's like trying to rip off Eragon. What else is there to say? It was one of the worst movies of 2006. And, oh yeah, this film came out 3 years late. So maybe it wasn't, or maybe it was. Who knows? The movie itself has nothing to do with Eragon, but this is the Asylum, so that doesn't mean anything. What it does have to do with is a quest, and this quest involves dragons. Aside from that, there's trees? And walking. There's characters too, but they're just there for the specific plot points, really. Hardly call them characters in and of themselves. But who cares about subtext and backstory? That's not important in a fantasy movie. What is important is dragons. And quests. And chainmail bikinis. Nevertheless, let's take a look at DragonQuest and see the Asylum beating a dead horse. The fantasy horse. In true Asylum fashion, the movie opens to sweeping landscapes, as any kind of backstory, build-up, or even the slightest explanation as to what the hell is going on isn't nearly as important as these big-ass hills. I swear the editor at this studio has a hard-on for Sierras. This transitions to a volcano where we see obviously evil man pull out a prop the studio bought at Hot Topic for about $5, which bleeds, and doesn't. Which produces a flaming CGI dragon of above average quality for the Asylum. Of course, that does mean they are still far lower quality than even the Dungeons & Dragons movie. Never mind that, though. It's time for more mountains! And then a location shot that looks like absolute shit. Unless, of course, they meant this to be a King's Quest movie. No. Actually, that doesn't sound like too bad of an idea. Unless it's made by the Asylum. Nevertheless, here we are introduced to the big hero of the film, Arkady, played by Daniel Bonjour, enjoying this medieval fantasy world by smoking crack? Oh, my mistake. It's angel dust. But most important, he must spy on the local girl who likes to get naked at random. Cock-blocked!
Grandfather.
Grandfather indeed. You may wonder where his mother, father, or grandmother are. Well, wherever they are, they're not anywhere in the script. That's not nearly important enough for this movie. At a mere 5 minutes in, Grandfather, played by Gary Miller Youst, hands Arkady an ancient magic trinket.
That pendant is dangerous and powerful.
So, this is the magical version of giving the kid a driver's license.
The evil from the east is coming.
What would it want with us?
It seeks to control men.
Wait, just for clarification, are they talking about the PlayStation 4? This is interrupted when another grandson of his shows up, Radchek, played by Jonathan Nathan. Yet another Asylum regular. He's been in many movies I've already reviewed, but I will always personally remember him as God, the pudgy air taxi with a shitty sense of direction. In this movie, he is random exposition dump, yammering on about a prophecy and crap, though it's kind of pointless as the prophecy plays out in about 20 seconds when the flaming dragon happens by. Grandfather gives him instructions just in case he does not return by morning, which is also kind of a pointless thing to specify as the dragon takes his wrinkly ass out, again in just about 20 seconds.
Go! Do what I could not!
You mean the hot girl down the road? Yes, Grandfather! I will! Don't worry, though. Pudgy God is still there to instruct him to do what Grandfather just told him to do 30 seconds ago, which is to take his obviously important pendant and go find an old warrior named Maxim. How this is something that old Granddaddy couldn't accomplish, I don't know, but there you go. Thus he begins his quest, a quest involving a dragon, and many rocky hills and mountains. Cinematography, good. Pathfinding, bad. We need to progress this plot super fast though, so Plot God the Pudge teleports to location 2 so he can exposit information.
Grandfather's dead.
Wait, so he was these guys' grandfather as well, or what?
We must put our trust in a boy.
Who is the boy?
I cannot say. His quest must remain secret.
Now what the fuck are you doing going around telling everybody for? Hearing this news, Random King realizes that prophecy they won't explain is playing out for all to see.
Then it is time, friend. The red sun marks our end.
The Red Sun? Could your sages have picked a sign of the end times that was slightly less common? We also learn that the one who started all this ruckus is none other than Brian Thompson, playing the role of Kirill, though I and countless others will forever remember him for his portrayal of Shao Kahn in Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
The grandfather has chosen the keeper.
The fuck? You mean he's your grandfather too? Just how much fucking did this man do in his life? And yet he still could not get the wench down the road. No worries though, Arkady is instantly captured.
Who sent you?
Grandfather. Before he died.
Is this supposed to be a comedy? The man's name is Grandfather. Everyone recognizes him as Grandfather. He's the most famous grandfather in all of grandfatherdom. As he is the vessel of Uber Pappy, the king has no choice but to sacrifice his men's safety to allow the boy through. So we get a blue screen battle against the enemy army. You know the enemy army. The enemy always has an army, even when it's just Shao Kahn and his pet dragon. But if you're a fan of horrifyingly shitty visual effects, this scene's for you. It's got a crap backdrop, quick cut edits, and some of the worst battle CGI ever put on film. I'm sure that there is worse blood and dismemberment CGI out there, but the thing is, the Asylum doesn't realize that when your CGI looks like shit, don't stop to show it off. Now that that's over with, it's time for a random encounter.
Do you know who we are?
Hey, aren't you that guy from the Black Eyed Peas?
We are Tolvar.
That was close. Because the Asylum just won't let their movies end at the 20-minute mark no matter how much I want them to, random warrior princess Katya shows up, played by Jennifer Derogi. As one would expect, she's the kind of fighter who doesn't need pesky things like armor or clothes that fit in order to kick all the asses.
It's not wise to anger the Tolfar mercenaries.
And her acting style is similarly, minimalistic.
Go home.
Okay, that I can agree with.
Who sent you?
Grandfather.
Oh goddammit, he's her grandfather too? You know, that's gonna make her being the love interest more disgusting than it had to be. Nevertheless, he follows her lead into the marsh, where he finds...
The Keeper.
Mark Singer? The fuck are you doing here? No, seriously, what the fuck was that? What's wrong with your face? Mark plays Master Yoda, Maxim, the squirrely-looking elder who is a well of knowledge for Arkady's quest, although very terse and, going by his expression, perpetually suffering from the pains of gonorrhea. To be honest, he is the best actor on set, and his performance is entertaining, but I can't help but rewrite all his lines in my head with, "Forth you will venture, stones of virtue you must seek." That is Arkady's quest, a dragon quest if you will, as the only way to defeat the dragon is with the 7 Chaos Emeralds, stones of virtue.
You must succeed.
When you get the stones, you can transform into Super Keeper. But first, you must collect 50 rings, and then jump. And while you're in the air, jump again. How can I jump while... Don't question me!
Why didn't Grandfather tell me I was a keeper?
Because you weren't
You mean they've just been fucking with him this whole time?
ready.
You've got to find better places for your dramatic pauses. Thus begins his Jedi training.
How hard could it be?
Something's wrong. I normally don't like Asylum movies this much. Of course. He uses the power of super weed to escape, but without the Chaos Emerald, so he has to get eaten again. and again, until Master Yoda spells it out to him to lay off the drugs, and he finally gets the Stone of Restraint. Or the Stone of Withdrawal, depending on how you look at it. Next thing you know, Pudgy God is all alone in the woods, when suddenly... The devs really have to fix the spawns in this area. It turns out that Shao Kahn actually talks through the dragon, which is really convenient. I mean, it can't just be that they got all of Brian's scenes in one location because he was only on set for one day of filming. No, it's telepathy! So he gets our friendly neighborhood air taxi to spill the beans on Arkady's quest and approximate location. Because with the big magic dragon and telepathic capabilities, following an obvious trail is just out of his league. Choking people to death usually works a little better when they're at least in the same room. Thus, plot device dies, and Master Yoda uses his walking stick to do some parkour and give important information.
The sun is moving.
And this is peculiar how? Never explained, so let's move on to Hidona, played by Maria Olsen, under about 15 pounds of makeup.
You will need a whole field of lilacs in your wash tub tonight.
Damn. It's dead. But when he goes to take said bath...
Don't be shy. I prepared this for you.
Oh no! The horror! No man can resist a naked woman in a bubble bath! How's that a bad thing?
I'm sorry. I can't.
Don't worry about him, though. He still has yet to reach puberty. Seriously, it's been several days and he hasn't grown a nanometer of stubble. 12-year-olds' faces aren't that smooth. But this is all part of his epic quest, as the next day he is awarded with another Chaos Emerald.
You've earned it. You're a chaste one, all right, a good boy.
Thank you, but it's not that I have anything against casual sex and all. It's just that, well, you see, I'm gay.
Aha! I knew it.
Oh, come on, Creepy. What about all that oogling he did earlier?
Oh, I wasn't talking about him.
Hey! Next on the list of Keeper challenges... He gets captured, and nobody notices. Well, maybe they just don't care. It's just another test, after all. A test involving his ass in a tiny dungeon cell, along with a new friend.
Well, you may call me... Stranger.
Stranger? Fair enough. My grandfather's name is Grandfather. I suppose this is the test of Shawshank as he spends days pounding away at his chains in a montage, up until he's able to escape in the quietest, least dangerous way possible. Or that. Naturally, the two of them still have the strength to fight their way out, and Katya shows up just in time to remind us all that she could have helped him break out, but didn't because, well, tests and all.
Now there is no longer the need to call me stranger.
Well, that's fucking great. How the hell am I supposed to find out who played you without a character name? Google image search every motherfucker that worked on this piece of shit? To hell with that! Unlike me, though, Arkady gets his plastic doohickey of diligence. Oh, and a big-ass jug of gold. Now that that's been taken care of, it's time for the next test.
You must continue along this route until you find shelter. You will know it.
The trial of real estate? In seconds, he finds some dank, dark hole in the ground, which naturally seems like the safest place to go find shelter. Strangely enough, it isn't. The sad thing is all these horribly cheesy effects really do look good for the Asylum. Faced with this imminent threat, Arkady decides to freeze in terror, soiling his trousers. Somehow the eight-eyed predator didn't manage to spot him in the clear sunlight from the middle of the cave, granting him the opportunity to take his prize. The stone of shitting your pants. A proud virtue if ever there was one.
What took you so long?
You joking? Do you have any idea what's in that cave?
A puddle of piss in a floodlight? That taken care of, they walk through mountains, which somehow transform into an ocean for them to walk up from onto shore, encountering a random guy down on his luck as, surprise surprise, a flaming dragon ate his village. So to make up for his home, friends, wife, and children being turned into ashes, Arkady offers him some useless mineral that has been formed into tiny discs.
This belongs to the village, wise man. It should belong to the one who has virtue.
Jeez, the quest writers aren't even trying anymore. Giant spider, giant eel, naked woman, and now this. So he gets the Stone of Bad Investments, shortly before another random encounter where a seemingly friendly man from Arkady's village shows up.
Yes, you are grandfather's boy.
A big whoop, so is 90% of the nation. It turns out they ran all the way up there, and interrupted his extremely important quest to save the world, so they could offer him some Dr. Pepper and KFC.
It would do us good.
Where is Admiral Akbar when you need him? Thus, he goes with them, so we can enjoy the company and, comic relief?
And you've not yet met the women!
I don't get it.
Time for bed.
So, this is where he gets the Stone of Inconsistent Dialogue. They leave him alone with Important Guy, who mentions he knows who he is and his quest, which is not a cause for concern whatsoever, but instead a reason to follow him to his spare magic mirror. Everyone has at least 2 or 3 of those things kicking around in these movies, and gaze into it to learn its secrets.
Breathe in the darkness. Let it consume you.
Hold up. Before Shao Kahn was able to transmit his image anywhere, and even choke random peasants in a neighboring country, now he needs to piggyback on a magic mirror? What, does the darkness not get coverage in this area, or what? Like an easily manipulated dumbass, Arkady hands over the Stones of Virtue just like that. But don't worry, Yodawan is there to ensure the plot progresses as intended, fighting off an entire group of foes with no real issue. Not to say that that itself isn't a problem, because after they establish his badassitude in swordplay, it does make it a little harder to explain how this happens. Yes, I know the plot says he dies, but at least try to make it believable. Because a considerably less skilled Arkady takes the man out no problem. Yeah, his hypnosis wore off, which tells me that it was downright pointless for Maxim to arrive if Bacardi here was strong enough to defeat them anyway, but never mind that. The point is that you need someone to die, and I guess the Asylum did a good-ish job for once, as the someone they picked was Mark Singer, so I actually do give half a shit. I mean, the story's still predictable as fuck, but the best actor on set won't be in the last third of the movie. Tragic, really. But in a shitty attempt to make it seem more meaningful than it was, they have it turn out that Maxim's mother also just so happened to be holding onto a Stone of Virtue, and what with it having immeasurable sentimental value at this point, hands it over to Arkady just for the fuck of it. Of course! The Stone of Plot Convenience! So now that they have 6 of the 7 stones of random bullshit, they head into the mountains where Shao Kahn resides. Why? I guess that's where the final stone supposedly lies hidden, but it would help if the characters pointed out where, or even what the fuck they were looking for. Of course, when Day for Night sets in, Shao Kahn's darkness carrier grants him unlimited minutes to contact Katya, who, being a well-trained, disciplined warrior of light, falls to his spell instantly. Fortunately, though, it takes her until morning to walk all the way to him, so he can actually see these scenes.
She has failed you, Keeper.
Katya.
And he woke up just in time to make it to the climax. Good on you, Arkady. Khan chucks the CGI prop off a cliff, which somehow destroys them? I guess, as that's how everyone reacts. Nevertheless, it's time for the epic struggle of bad special effects, as Big Bad Guy postures about just how big and bad he is.
Witness my power!
You've seen it. It's not really very impressive. However, it's never too late to pull out Deus Ex Natis, as it turns out the useless plastic gems were nothing more than useless plastic gems.
And now, I summon Blue Eyes White Dragon!
Therefore, our big epic final confrontation is underway. Sort of. It's a special effects standoff, and not a very exciting one to boot. Arkady and Khan just hold out their arms at each other, doing that one awesome move from Dragon Ball Z as the entire fucking fight. Well, spare the CGI dragons smacking each other about a little here and there. Okay, when the fuck did this movie suddenly turn into The Wizard of Oz? Never mind that. Happy ending! Katya comes rushing in to... Oh yeah, Katya. Well, she did snap out of it and start fighting random people during the climax, immediately after she handed the Stones of Virtue over. Listen, Arkady, I think we can all agree that Katya isn't exactly one for commitment. But they kiss, which kinda kicks that whole virtue of chastity in the ass, and might explain why the dragon decides to leave their asses behind, bringing our story to a close. And the world is saved! I think. Well, the one king and his countrymen are still dead, and the Tolfar still ravage the countryside and rape and pillage as they go along, and Arkady just threw away all those virtues he spent the entire movie trying to gain, so, whoops. Well, that was DragonQuest. The Asylum's DragonQuest. And, it's not the worst movie they've ever produced. That title likely will remain Alien Origin for the foreseeable future, but it doesn't mean this film is a good movie in and of itself. The premise is as bare-bones basic as they come. Have a fantasy movie, involve dragons in a quest. I can't say the title was misleading, but the fact that it's as simple as it is should say something. Plot-wise, there's not much at all going on. Nations and factions are introduced only at the time they are relevant. Challenges are met just as a means of getting from point A to point B, often without even trying to, and the characters' motivations are as basic as they come. Arkady just does whatever the fuck he is told, Katya reads her lines without flubbing them too badly while showing a lot of skin, and Mark Singer trudges through an Asylum production in hopes of a decent paycheck. Bad guys are bad and good guys are good, but next to nobody is really a believable human being. But truth be told, the movie is almost good enough to be mistaken for a half-assed attempt from another studio. But sadly, there are enough mistakes that remind us all that this clearly is an Asylum film, such as the most expensive actor only being on one set for some strange reason, and crappy CGI effects being recycled over and over in the same scene as a means to save even more money. At the end of the day, DragonQuest is a basic fantasy about a basic adventure with basic characters that basically work, but the studio's incompetence at basic filmmaking hurt even this premise, bringing the presentation down to 2 stones of whatever is convenient for the scene out of 5. It's a high 2, which is a pretty nice thing to say about anything from the Asylum, but unless you're a fan of low-budget cheese, it's still gonna feel like you just wasted 90 minutes of your life. It's a relatively normal thing to say about anything from the Asylum. Thank you all for watching. I've been Shado, and remember, be thankful that the Asylum only set out to ruin Eragon. I mean, the movie is about collecting 7 magic items to summon a dragon. It could have ruined something far better.
O kingdom, a forest under the breathing sun.
Oh, choirs of angels, like dawn I've just begun.
The bed's not soft, but the latrine is convenient.